Da-da-da.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Persons under 18 will not be admitted.
What the fuck are we gonna do now? Get high? Hey! Happy Wednesday, everybody. Yes, it is Wednesday, and it's all good. I am super psyched about tonight's show. This gentleman was part of my childhood for a long time. And I'm going to leave it right there. I'm just going to leave it right there. And as always, the backup to the backup.
Ba-ba-da. You looked like you were getting choked up there for a second, Ben. Are you all right?
You know, I don't really get starstruck because of some of the amazing guests we've had. But like I said, I mean, this is our second guest from a famous TV show this season, celebrating its 50th anniversary. And when I said, I mean, this was a big part of my childhood. So I don't know about choked up, but I am very humbled to have this guest.
I myself caught tons of reruns of the show you're speaking of, and you're though I was young, I still remember. I
think this gentleman taught me like in the show, I should say, let me rephrase that. In the show, love. There was a love there. But I'm just going to leave it there because a lot of our viewers will probably know exactly who this gentleman is once we bring him in. So let's stop messing around and bring in Jeffrey.
Jeff.
Love you?
Hey, you forgot to shave.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
That's because I only got one. I only got one arm right now, so I decided not even to fight with it. Is that all right? I think it looks good.
Yeah, you see how I diverted? You see how I diverted that, right?
Yeah, I see how you diverted that. Let's just get right into it. Let's welcome Dean Butler.
Hey, Dean. Welcome to the show.
How's it going, Dean? He's like,
I'm still trying to
mess
get past
already.
that opening. Hey, I'm still trying to process that opening title sequence that you've got. That is the longest opening title I've ever seen.
You are not the first to say something like that.
You are not. You are not. I believe Anson Williams said it best. He said, that opening is longer than most California wildfires.
Yeah, I mean, my God. Anson Williams. I saw Don Most in there. E. Deason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Funny. Anson Williams was in the room when I auditioned for Buffy the Vampire Slayer to play Buffy.
Oh, no kidding.
And he was one of the. I'm not sure what his function was, but he was in the room when I came in, and I was completely. I don't know if you guys would get this, but I sensed from the whole vibe around your show you would. Sometimes when you go into situations, the world, when it's going well, the world is in focus, right? You can see everything, and it's all, the world slows down and you get it all. This was one of those meetings for Buffy and the Vampire Slayer where I walked in the room and the room was completely out of focus. I didn't know who was in the room when I went in there. I can't tell you why that's the case, but it was just one of those days that I was really nowhere to be found in that room. But I'd known Anson for a few years, and after I read, Anson came up to me some months later at an event and said, hey, I put in a good word for you with Buffy. I recommended you. And he said to me, I just told him, I know him. He's a great guy. Just hire him. I didn't even remember seeing him in a room. This was not a big room. This was like a room with, there were 4 or 5 guys around a table, maybe, a couple of, just a mixed group around people that were making decisions. This was early on in the run of Buffy, and they were casting Buffy's dad. And I was just completely not present at all. And he said, go ahead and give it to him. I was one of those bizarre things. I'm grateful to my friend Ann Williams, who would recommend me to Joss Whedon and the Buffy group. What a great show. I didn't do a lot of them because Buffy's dad was never going to figure heavily in the story that was featuring a girl growing up in a single parent household. But I did have enough time to reveal Hank Summers as a dysfunctional guy and not a particularly good dad. And it was very cool to work with those people. I mean, that was a very, very talented people on that show. I don't know if you talked to anybody from Buffy, but really, really smart people.
Wow. Yeah. Now, how long did that last?
I think I did that. I was, in and out of that 5 or 6 times over 3 seasons. I think one of the coolest things about that is I came out of it with a Buffy trading card. That was sort of like the coolest to get out of that. Got the Hank Summers trading card, and I signed 2,500 of them, and they went out to fans, and that was pretty cool. I didn't think that the number of episodes I did rated a trading card. They thought I rated a trading card, so I said, okay, we'll do this trading card.
Well,
when you've become a collectible, you've made it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of signing, do you go out and do signings for like Buffy cons or anything like that?
I have never done a Buffy event.
No.
It's just, yeah, not really. I do a ton of Little House on the Prairie events, but I have not done a Buffy event, even though I've got the training card. I'm just sort of shocked that they haven't asked me. But what a great, it's just a really great group of people, talented actors, a great concept for the show, this sort of dark comedy and this sort of twisted world, and led by Sarah Michelle Gellar, who's just really just a first-rate actress, and really wonderful, and great to look at, wonderful craft. I mean, she was terrific in the show, really terrific. Very cool to be her dysfunctional dad on Buffy.
Right. So going from Almanzo to Hank, two totally different ends of the spectrum there. Yes. I mean,
and I think that's why they hired me, is because I had this, and between, after Little House, I became Moondoggy. So I went Manly to Moondoggy in the new Gidget. So, all around me is sort of attached this idea of the perfect guy in some way. I mean, a good guy, a really good guy. So it was very, just established when hiring me. He established the possibility that the audience was going to think, oh, this is going to be a really good guy. And he turned out to be really not a good guy. And that was a sort of a nice little thing. It wasn't, there wasn't a huge amount to do there, but it was cool to be cast against what I had been doing for so many years. That was sort of fun.
Right. And that's where I was going with that, because a lot of actors and actresses, when they get locked into a large role, such as you did with Little House on the Prairie, that's all that the fans see them as. So when they transition to a new show or to something else, a lot of the fans have a hard time well, he doesn't fit like that. No, that's not his character. But it shows the caliber of actor that you really are, to be able to transition from that to, like you said, Moondoggy or to Hank, and still have a huge fan base behind that.
Well, look, I think that the vibe that came off of me with Little House was a vibe, a type that I was very, very happy with. I was never discontent to be thought of as a really good man. That never bothered me. I think where I got into a little bit of a problem was after the show, and I felt like I had to be something different. I felt like I had to be, and of course, actors always have people in their heads. It's their agents, their managers, publicists, whatever it is. You got to be edgier. You got to be sexier. You got to be something. You got to be something different than what you are. I think it's well-meaning advice, but it's bad advice.
Yeah.
Actors need to be in the space that they are most comfortable in, I think. It's nice to be pushed to do something different. It's a wonderful opportunity. But when you walk in a door to meet on something, I think it's really important to be squarely who you are, because that's the thing that you are best at, is who you are. Right. And casting decisions are made in about 8 seconds, basically. You walk in the door, someone says, yes, they could do this, or no, they're not going to be right for this. And that decision is almost instantaneous, and it's very hard to change people's minds. If that's the case, and knowing with series television, which is where I spend most of my time, I think it's really important to work close to where you are, because you're so exposed. You're being, it's one performance after another with with part that you don't know what's coming. It's not like doing a play where you audition for the role and you know what the part is, and the part's never going to change. I mean, that you may change the way you play, but the words are never going to change. With series television, the only script you ever know is the first one you read. And after that, if they hire you, you're on the ride with them and you take them as they come. And you're not, and in the case of Little House, no one's really debating too much about what these scripts are going to be. You know, the scripts are what they are, and you do them as they are written, as opposed to, say, something like Gidget, where we were constantly ping-ponging with the producers about this joke or that joke, or can we do something different? And and then back then going to Buffy was the situation where I don't think there was a lot of improvisation going on. They really locked in on what Jock was doing, and that's what they did. It's a, you know, I just think it's a sign of the confidence of the producer when things are really locked down tight. Michael Landon was a massively secure producer in terms of what he was doing. He understood what he was trying to do, and Joss Whedon understood very well what he was trying to do. In the case of Gidget, we spent a bunch of time in the early days of that trying to figure out what it was that we were doing. And that's sort of tough because you have to commit to shows and you have to deliver something, and you're really still finding it. What is this that we're doing? And you know, when you see this with shows all the time, one of my favorite shows is Everybody Loves Raymond. I love Raymond and watch it all the time at night. You can watch the early episodes of Raymond, and those characters, yes, the basic essence of the character is there, but the nuance that comes into that over the course of 4, 5, 6 years, that the writers are picking up on and writing to as people reveal more and more of themselves in that situation. It's really spectacular. I mean, you watch the performances in the early days of that and at the end, and it's just so good at the end. And I would say the same thing is true of Friends. You know, in the beginning they were doing jokes. By the end, this is these people, and they are right in the sweet spot of who they are as people. It's interesting how that works.
It's rare too. It's very rare.
It's rare to get a chance to go that far with something. Yeah, absolutely. You know, people who do soap operas are getting if they're really working well on the soap opera, they're doing, 2 or 3 different shows a week. You know, they're in a lot. Maybe they're working every day, maybe not heavily every day, but they are building this thing that writers are picking up on and writing to every single day. And it's really important in those situations that actors bring stuff that writers can look at and process and build the mythology of the character around. And that's a very collaborative process, that act writer process in soaps or in comedy. That's a very synergistic process.
Wow.
Was acting always the main gig, like, for you, or when you were younger, was there something else?
I was as a kid, I was painfully shy. I was the kid in school who was the AV geek. I was the kid who was running the projectors and backstage doing the lights, and I was that kid. I knew from early on that I really needed to be seen and heard, and I think most kids feel this way. This is nothing unique to me. We all in our lives need to find something that clicks, where our peers look at us and say, oh, you're good at that. When you're really small, if you're a guy, it's like, I'm sure you all remember this going to elementary school, where who's the fastest runner in the class?
Oh yeah.
It's that kind of, for the girl, who's the prettiest girl in the class? It's very simple, very distinctive, easy to prove or easy to assess superlatives. As we get older, I think those superlatives become more nuanced. And then it ends up, who's the best at math? Who's the best writer? Who sings the best? Who's the sexiest? Who's the biggest flirt? Whatever that is. But we develop all these kinds of superlatives. As a kid, I was looking for that thing that I could be seen, heard with. And acting was, I would never have thought in my early days that acting would have been that thing. I know a lot of actors who say they came out of the womb looking for a script or, wanting to, looking for a song and dance experience. That was not me. I wanted to be seen and heard. I wasn't sure how I was going to get there. It wasn't until I was a sophomore in high school. So I'm 15, something like that, and painfully shy, not particularly good student, because I was hiding all the time. I didn't really want to be seen. I didn't want to be an object of derision or ridicule or any of that. So I was just trying to lay low all the time. And my geometry teacher invited me to be the scorekeeper at varsity basketball games for our high school team. I was not a good geometry student. But I think he sensed that I needed something, and he invited me to do this, and they taught me how to do the book, which I thought was really cool. I don't know if any of you have done a scorebook for football games or basketball games or baseball, but it's sort of an interesting little shorthand language developed and how to do this. And before the game, the first game of the season started, I'm sitting there, and he looks over at me and he says, "Who's going to introduce the starting lineups?" And right in front of me is sitting this, you guys can relate to this doing what you do every day. There's this old short pedestal, silver, chrome microphone sitting on the table right in front of me. And I look at this thing, and if this were in a movie, this is that moment when everything goes dark, the sound goes away, and a pin top drops down on the microphone sitting on the table in front of me. And I see my life right in front of me. I see the possibility of something completely different right in front of me. And when I spoke into the microphone to introduce the players, the crowd cheered. Yeah, but a really good basketball team that year, so there was a lot of cheering for that team. They weren't cheering me, but they were cheering the names. And I made this connection between what I was saying and the response. And I swear to you, for the first time in my life, I felt like I was being heard. And it was a very big thing. I don't know. Do you guys have any experiences like that? I mean, you're doing this show, I mean, is being heard in this way? Is this this has got to be a rush? You're doing this every week.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I said prior to going live, I mean, we formed relationships, and over the years, we've been able to get bigger and better guests on the show, and our numbers keep growing and growing and growing. And it is a rush, because Jeff and I actually wrote a novel, which we're going to get into in a second, because somebody else here has a novel coming out. But
someone else has a memoir. It's not a novel.
Okay, I'm sorry, a memoir.
It's writing. Yeah.
An author style thing. But our novel spun into a comic book series that spun into a live action TV series that is now going to some sort of animation. Which led to this show.
Right.
We're
just trying to have fun. That's all.
Where it is kids now.
But I mean, and it's been a rush for us to be able to do signings and events and be treated like VIPs and sit in the green room with people that you never in a million years thought you were going to be able to talk to, just to find out that they're just regular people just like us.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
Yeah.
but I do want to touch on your memoir, which is coming out June 25th, called Prairie Man, My Little House Life and Beyond.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about that?
So in 2021, when the pandemic was raging, and we were all sort of trying to figure out what we were going to do next and how the world was going to return to some sort of normalcy, it started to dawn on me that the 50th anniversary really come into focus, that the 50th anniversary of Little House was coming in 2024. And thinking, how am I going to participate in this? Because I think this is an important milestone program. Little House certainly is not the only show by any means that has achieved this distinction of being really truly relevant after 50 years. But it is one of those shows that has achieved that status. And so what could I do to participate in that? I had been asked for years when I was going to write my book after people had read Melissa's book, Alison Arngram's book, Charlotte Stewart's book, Ketty Lester's book. Then just last year, or I guess 2022, they read Karen Grassley's book. It was all women in the show. And they had also read, amazingly, they had read Wendy Lou Lee's book, who played Baby Grace on our show. I mean, she was literally a toddler when we were doing the show.
Right.
But she's developed this beautiful story, this faith story that she brought to audiences in a book, in a devotional that the Little House fans absolutely love. So I'm looking at all this, I'm thinking, well, none of the men in the cast have written a memoir. Maybe it's time for that. And so I started noodling around with some ideas, and I thought, I could be the first guy to write a book about this. I approached an agent who I knew, a literary agent, and I told him about my idea, and he said to me, no one's ever going to buy a book like that from you. It's never going to happen. I mean, you'll pay them to write the book. It's going to work. And I said, well, okay. I mean, look, I had no reason to believe that wasn't true, because, I just wasn't, I had no credibility in that space. I just didn't know. But I gave my proposal to my friend Mary McDonough, who had played Aaron Walton on The Waltons. Another sort of the Waltons and Little House are sort of the companion,
right,
family drama shows of the 1970s and early 80s. And Mary walked my proposal into her editor at Kensington Publishing, and the next morning her editor called me and made me an offer. And he wasn't offering me the chance to write him a check and send it to the and I just, after I got up off the floor, I just said, I can't believe, based on what I was told, that you are picking up the phone. And I didn't tell him what I was told, but I'm thinking, my God, what a contrast this is. Just tells you, you just can't believe what any one person tells you. You need to do some exploring. And we set out and made this deal. And on January 10th at 5 a.m., January 10th, 2023, at 5 a.m., I sat down at my dining room table with a hot cup of coffee, and my computer turned on and my outline in front of me on the screen, and I started writing. And it was really just and I knew contractually that I had to write 75 to 85,000 words. Now, I'd never written anything probably more than 5,000 words, for anything. And now that's maybe not for scripts. For a talk show, I've written more than that, but that's different than writing about yourself. I just had never written about myself to that degree. And so, but as I started going with this, the words started coming in. I don't know if you obviously write. You're writing comic books. You're going to be involved in an animated series. I think we all, if you're writing when you're writing a story, it has a way of bringing things back in your memories. You know, it is literally it's sort of the tried and true. It's almost a cliche, but it's the reason cliches become cliches is because they're very descriptive and accurate. It's sort of memories are sort of like peeling back the layers of an onion. You more things come to you, and so it started to flow. And when I finished my first draft 7 months later, it was 210,000 words. And I'd had an editor following along with me, reading so I would write, I'd submit pages, they would look at it, they'd make suggestions, we'd make tweaks. So my 210,000 words became 96,000 words that we turned in. So I had exceeded my outside number with the publisher, so I felt good about that. Right. Submitted 96,000 words, and we carved it down to now we're going to publish on the 25th at approximately 93,000 words. And, you know, I feel really good about it because it covers my early life. It covers the challenges of youth. It covers discovering my way in, that seen and heard thing. It talks about my first experiences as an actor. It talks about Little House and Gidget and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and going to Broadway. And, you know, it covers all of this stuff. And then some of my personal life, you know, sort of some of the romantic life, some good, some not so good, but on balance, very positive. I'm hoping that if people sit down to read this, I'm hoping that what they will come away with is what is my most important thing with this is gratitude. You know, I have been incredibly fortunate in my life to do the things that I've had the opportunity to do. And whether it be acting or producing, it's just all been an incredible gift. And it all started in a serious way with Little House, because Little House is the thing that we're still talking about after 50 years. It's still relevant. It's still in 140 countries around the world every single day in over 40 languages. It's incredible.
Wow. Right. Speaking of different countries and different things, we have somebody in the chat here that just said hi and good evening from Ghana.
Wow.
And so
where's Ghana?
Right here.
Yeah, but
it's Ghana. Yeah, from Ghana.
Ghana. Where's Ghana?
It's
I
in
have
Africa.
no idea.
It is. Okay.
Well, there you go. So there's another first for us. But we do have viewers that tune in from all over the world, which is amazing. We love all of them. I want to thank them for tuning in, staying up late to chime in and hear Dean's amazing stories. So
it's tomorrow morning in Ghana. I mean, it's got to be tomorrow morning in Ghana.
He just said 11:33 p.m.
That's strange. Yeah.
So
no,
maybe I've got the wrong. Maybe I've got the wrong continent. Maybe it's in.
Well, we'll wait for Philip to chime back in and tell us exactly where it is.
It's West Africa.
It's got to be West Africa.
To all our viewers and listeners, make sure you check the show notes up above or down below, because there are links in there to be able to pick up this book when it comes out on the 25th. Just saying. You got to go to the links.
What's the going price for the book?
The suggested retail price.
Yes.
Yes. The SRP is $28.
West Africa.
Yeah.
It's
West Africa. Okay.
Yes,
Very
West
good.
Africa.
All right.
Is it a nice hardcover?
Yes.
Yes. It is.
Sweet.
Yes, it is.
Are there pictures?
Yes, there are. There are naked pictures in it, gratefully for everybody. But But there are lots of great family pictures and a few professional pictures, but it's a lot of sort of personal family pictures and some stuff that's early on in life. And so we wanted to give people an opportunity to get a sense of what the beginnings of.
So I think that's important, especially in a memoir like that, because it adds more depth.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so.
Just real quick for anybody that's interested, Dean will be on a book signing tour starting June 25th. Semi Valley book signing, and then he'll be in Michigan.
It's actually Simi Valley at Simi Valley, SIMI. Simi Valley is just as a point, which is on the northeast rim of the Los Angeles basin. That's where Little House on the Prairie was shot. That's where all of our exteriors were. That's where Walnut Grove was. It's where the Ronald Reagan Library is. It's that area, and we shot it at this beautiful place called the Big Sky Movie Ranch, which has been the home to dozens and dozens of movies, television shows, probably hundreds of commercials, music videos. This is one of the premier untouched exterior locations in Southern California. It's over 7,000 acres, and you can make it stand in for almost any place in the world, the way it's laid out. And people have used it for any place in the world, wow. Including in our case, Minnesota, which it looks nothing like.
Right.
So,
but you'll also be in Minnesota, I believe, in July.
Yeah.
South Dakota,
Absolutely.
Arizona, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Montana. So, folks, he's going to be touring around with these books. If you live in any of those states, go see him. Get it signed. I mean, literally, Connecticut, he's going to be in Watertown, Jeff. So, what's that, like 2 hours from us?
Wow.
Yeah, 2.5, yeah.
Yeah, so we're doing an event there that's being that's really to support our former casting director, and it's not to support her, but to support a charity that's important to her.
Right.
That was important to her late husband. His name is Kent McCrae, who was our producer for all the years on Little House. And so we're doing this event there to raise money for a children's home that's very important to her. So we'll all be in Connecticut then, and then in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and we'll be in Branson, we'll be in Texas in December. This is definitely the big Little House tour this year, no question.
Nice.
Right.
Now, are most of these at bookstores, or are they at like venues?
No, they're usually at they are at venue. The ones that we do with a company called Gravel Road Markets, and they are the producers of most of these events. They're in parks, they're in convention centers, they're in, they have to be places that can deal with several thousand people at a time. So you really can't do that at a bookstore. I mean, when we're there signing, we have lines that go on for 7 hours at a time, and we're signing and whatever it is. And we've all got different things that are memorabilia from Little House, and there are usually 6, 7, or 8 of us that are there. It's really, we've become quite renewed the family, as it were, as we go on and represent Little House to a lot of people. So it's really great.
Well, it's pretty good considering the guy said nobody's going to even want to buy it.
Right?
For real.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. I mean, and who knows if people, it was for a period of time. And of course, the metrics change so fast, but it was the #1 pre-sale book on Amazon. It has been in and out of that category several times. #1 pre-sale in drama memoir, something like entertainment memoir. So people are aware of it. You're helping to make people aware of the book, which I really appreciate. So yeah, it's been it's cool to be able to speak about something that you've worked on. And it's always, we did this huge event in Simi Valley in March, the Little House on the Prairie 50th anniversary cast reunion. Inn Festival that was in the planning stages for 5 years before it happened, but it really seriously came together in the last 18 months. I mean, that's really when these things happen. It's a lot of talk, and then you have to get real and start doing it. Well, we had 18,000 people over 3 days from 27 countries come to see us. And we took people back to Big Sky Movie Ranch and put facades of the exterior sets back on Big Sky, geolocated to be exactly where they were, so you could drive into Walnut Grove again and see. And we rebuilt roads, we cleaned it all up, so it looked a lot in 2 dimensions, not in 3 dimensions, but in 2 dimensions. It looked like what you would have seen if you'd come into Walnut Grove. And then we, in another location, we rebuilt the interiors of 3 sets. We rebuilt the interiors of the church and school, if you're familiar with that. Olson's Mercantile, which was a very popular set, a lot of good candy in Olson's Mercantile. And of course, the interior of the Little House. And
the candy was real?
I'm sorry?
The candy was real?
Oh, the candy was real. Oh, there were a lot of people in there reaching in, like Willie Olson reaching in. Yeah, the candy jar to go for the jawbreakers. The candy was all real. It was so cool. I mean, our props people did screen grabs of the interior of Olson's Mercantile from all the different angles that it was shot. And they went out and found just what was there. And so when people walked into these sets, they felt like they were stepping into something that you could have shot on. It was really incredible what with the work that was done. And we had people for 3 days in these endlessly long lines waiting to get in and see these things and meet the cast. And we did panels, and there was music, and there was original art and recreated costumes. It was just this incredible Little House love experience.
Wow. That takes a meet and greet to the next level. I'll say that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's an experience right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the lines were just off the charts. We've never seen lines like this. It was just absolutely amazing. What's that?
He said only at the airport.
Only at the airport. Yes. Going through TSA on a holiday, on holiday Thursday. Yes.
Right.
Maybe similar to that. Yeah.
Yep. That's why you have to buy your VIP passes in advance, folks.
Right.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, but we're sort of an egalitarian group. We did not, we all thought back to, when you go skiing and people buy special passes so they can cut the lines. We gave VIP people access to special food and special restrooms and, and swag that we created for them. We didn't give anybody the right to cut a line. We thought it was important for everybody to be treated the same in that situation, so that there wouldn't be the resentment of someone just stepping in front of you. We've all been there. We've all experienced that. I mean, I get it. It's great for the person who's got the VIP pass, but it leaves people feeling a little, not so happy. And we had some issues with the event because of the long lines and so on. And we had rain on the first night, which limited our ability to give tours on the Saturday. But I tell you that I'd rarely been in a situation where I saw so many happy people. This was a situation where I had a group of people, cast, crew members, fans from all over the world coming together, looked at each other in the eye and celebrated the fact that they loved this program. We all loved and love this program.
Right.
And there's just an enormous sense of good feeling that comes from that. And we all shared that together. And I think that's so much of what the Little House experience has been for all of us for so many years, is just this amazing sense of positivity about what we did together and what fans have experienced with all of us. And it's a wonderful shared thing that we all have.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Has there ever been any talk about doing, I'll call it a special? You get the whole cast together and you do a Little House 50 years later. I'm sure there's been talk.
Yeah, there certainly has been talk. It's a very tough deal to make. I will tell you.
I would think.
I just don't think it's the kind of thing that's going to be particularly easy to get done. Yeah, mainly the main reason it's going to be difficult to do is because you have no Michael Landon.
Right.
And
it would be a good way to honor him, though.
Oh, it would be an incredible way to honor him. Well, I mean, in our 50th anniversary event, we spent a lot of time honoring Michael. Mm-hmm. Everything was geared towards honoring Michael and honoring Kent and honoring those members of our cast who are now departed, who were so central to making the show as beloved it was. There was a lot of that, but to go back on camera and do it again, I feel like yes, it's tempting, it's fun to think about, but why screw around with something that was just so perfect the way it was?
Right.
And Michael, that's one of the reasons Michael blew up the Walnut Grove at the end of the series. I don't know if you guys ever seen that, but that last farewell where dynamite all the buildings, away they go up in a cloud of smoke. It was some pretty dramatic explosions. Michael never wanted to be in a position where he'd have to go back to it. And look, they had to take all the buildings down when the series was done because Big Sky Ranch had to be returned. Yeah. That part of Big Sky Ranch had to be returned to its untouched state. And so they would have to be taken down. But I think Michael really did not want to have to deal with the pressure of having to store these sets and wonder when the call was going to come and the money would be offered that would be very hard to say no to. Although Michael could have said no to any amount of money because he was, he had done so well. But I just don't think he wanted that. I think he wanted it to be closed up. It was a pretty dramatic bow to wrap this thing up with, and it was memorable for all of us. I really think he wanted that, and he just didn't want to revisit it. And then going beyond that, the right situation, and that's like, we don't want to talk, business rights and all that, but it's a very complex property in terms of who is it and the rights that are involved and who has to get paid and how much. And it's probably better just to leave it alone.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm sure a lot of people out there are asking and wondering the same thing. You know what I mean? That's why I brought it up.
Oh yeah.
Right.
But I think it makes perfect sense. Yeah. The end is the end. Yeah.
What I could see with that is similar to what Friends did, where they did the cast reunion live for a studio audience, but broadcast live to the world so that people in West Africa or over in the UK or in Australia could actually tune in and be like, whoa, you're like, here's the whole cast and reliving some memorable moments. And I could see something like that being a huge, huge hit.
Yeah, I look, and I would totally agree with that if everybody who really centrally important to the show was still with us. If Michael was here and Victor French was here and and Catherine McGregor and Richard Bull and all these, Kevin Hagen, Babs Greer, all those people were still with us, and they would have been really, really old by now. But, then it would have made sense, I think. But without all of those people, it's fun. Now, what we did in CME was really nice, and we shot all these panels, and the panels will be made available for people to see at some point, and they're wonderful conversations about the show, and those things, like your show, will be streamed. And at some point, or they'll be on display where we're going to rebuild the sets again and put them in another location back in Simi Valley. That's coming. Our bus tours that we did at Big Sky are starting again this weekend in Simi Valley. if people are in Southern California listening to your program today and they are intrigued with the idea of going on a Big Sky Movie Ranch tour of Little House on the Prairie, they can go to SimiValleyChamber.org and follow the links to bus tickets for our bus tour. And we had, more than 2,000 people go through the ranch during our event in March that happened the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of March. And people were just euphoric. I mean, it was tears, it was joy, they got to see something that they had grown up with and loved. Mm-hmm. I mean, you talked about, Ben, you talked about growing up with the program. And I think if you had been a really rabid fan and really, there are fans, I know you can relate to this. There are fans who know much more about the show than all of us do who are on it. It's a session. They get, it's like that. How many have you guys all seen Galaxy Quest?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's sort of a Star Trek thing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. The whole fan thing, the conventions, all of that. What a wonderful movie. I mean, and that's sort of what our reunion event was like. I mean, there were bonnets, dog-eared boots, and fedoras, and the whole thing. People came to step back into this world with us, and it was just incredible.
Wow.
So, during all of this time, while you were filming the episodes and everything, did you actually watch all of them?
I didn't.
Okay.
I watched them as they came. I had never watched the show before I got it. I had never seen it. I'd never read the books. These were not part of my family's youth reading. So, but I think the deal is, and what I've sort of come to figure out or decide or process is that it wasn't important that I knew the books or had watched the series. What was important is that Michael Landon thought, when he met me, talked to me, read me, looked at me, thought, this guy can fit in to my world. He can be a part of this. He'll make a good contribution. That's really what's most important. No one goes into an audition and gets quizzed on what they know about the show. Maybe some shows, but that's really not what it's about. It's, do you have the right stuff to step into this space with us and be a part of this?
Are you the right character?
Yeah.
Well, I brought that up because when we had Eric Roberts on the show, and he's done over 700 movies.
Oh my God! Yeah,
he's never seen any of them. Doesn't know what any of them are even about, because he just gets his lines.
Never watched any movie he's ever been in.
Nope. He gets his part. That he goes in. He's like, it's either a day, maybe two. I do my parts, and then I'm out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That speaks to a really interesting quality or an interest that, and I think a lot of actors feel that way. It's really all about the process of being on the set right then, doing the work and walking away from it. And if they have to come in and loop a couple of lines later or do some other kind of voiceover, whatever it is, they do that. But I think most actors will be very content to never touch a piece of material again. And that was never going to be a source of happiness for me. I know that about myself. I needed to be all in with this. I wanted to know what the writers were doing. I wanted to know what the producer was doing, what the unit production manager was doing. I wanted to know what was going on in the editing room. I wanted to understand about lenses and cameras and lighting, and I wanted to know about post-production sound. I wanted to know about all that stuff because really, when I started working behind the scenes as a producer in the late 90s into the 2000s, I came to the conclusion and I don't know if your guests would agree with this, but you're having a guest next week who's an independent producer, director of films.
Right.
I came to the conclusion after doing it for a while that it's really the producers that are having the most fun, because they're there at the very beginning. Yep. They're there for the idea, the germination of the idea, the development of the idea. They sell it. They find the money. They bleed for it. They really bleed for it to make it happen. And then they shoot it, which is the shortest part of that process. And then they have to finish it, which is not as long as the development side. Not necessarily, it can be, but it's generally shorter than the development side. Definitely longer than the production side.
Yep. But
they get to see it from the blank page on their computer screen, like, let's do this, to the end when they're looking at the fully realized, fully formed, whether it be, look, at any level, from podcast to major motion picture, it's a process that you go through to make this. Like, which one of you dreamed up that title sequence that drives your show?
The gentleman that actually dreamed that up is not here. That's Leo Pond. He is the producer for a lot of the shows on the network. A good friend of ours, having a difficult time right now with some personal issues at home, and just bought a house. And so usually he's in my spot and I'm where Jeremy is. But Jeremy has stepped up to the plate over the past couple months to really help us out on the show. Which gives me the opportunity to look at the comments and make sure that all the streams are going to the 28 different platforms. That's why the opening sequence is so long.
So it has a chance to sync up with all the platforms. And
it's all going to be shared everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So Jeremy, what's it like to be in the bullpen and be now in the game?
Oh, it's fantastic. I've been traveling with these guys for a good amount of time. They brought me, we're from Massachusetts, but they brought me to cons down in Virginia,
Maryland.
Travel around with them. I've gotten to meet a lot of interesting people and
some not so
as you say, some not so interesting, but as you said, I get a rush from this. Like, after a show, like when we were doing one of the panels, we were running the panels for the one of the cons, and after the panel, the panelists came up to me and they were just like, "Wow, you should be doing such and such and blah blah blah. You're really good at this." And that is the rush. I like getting to make sure that you get your word out there, so you feel like that I've done my job.
Yeah, right.
No,
but
we don't want our guests. We don't want our guests to feel like they're sitting in a studio somewhere and it's going to be this question and this question and this question, and what's coming next. And we want we like our friends to be comfortable and just kind of chit chat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Do any of the three of you play golf?
I used to.
Jeff and I used to do this thing that was kind of like golf. We would hit the ball, but I mean, I could drive that ball pretty damn far, but I could not putt for the life of me. So I'd get it on the green, pick it up and go, give me whatever you want. Next hole.
Right. Now I'm one of those that I could putt, but when it comes to irons, I'm a worm burner.
Wow.
I can't get the damn thing in the air.
So
that's how I am with driving.
So I'm curious. I mean, have the three of you watched a show I did for Golf Channel for 10 years called Feherty?
I have not watched it, but I have heard of it.
Do you know who David Feherty is?
Yes.
So, so for the others, David is one of the premier analysts in the game of golf, a former pro, Ryder Cup player from the European side. He was he's now the lead analyst on all the live broadcasts, or the live streams that are out there. He was for 26 years at CBS and for 10 years at NBC. And now he's at Live, when Live offered him $5 million a year to go be the analyst, he took it. And so he went to Live. But David is this wonderful, what you said triggered me on that. I don't want to get off, we don't want to get into too big a digression on that. But David is this wonderful Northern Irish humorist, writer, golfer with this. And when we did this show, we did 150 hours of the show over a 10-year period. These were hours in the beginning, and then they went to hours, and we did live shows, and had the biggest names in golf other than Tiger Woods, who David wouldn't have on because he knew that Tiger would never answer the questions that he'd have to ask. So, and David always said, I want guests, not victims. That was his vibe. That was his deal. And this is sort of in sync with where you guys are coming from.
Right.
He wanted people to come on and be comfortable, have a good time. He didn't want them to feel that they had to be looking out for the gotcha question.
Right.
That was going to, be the thing that would sort of wipe them out in front of the audience. David is a recovering alcoholic. He's been addicted to every substance known to man, and he's wide open about it. And, so no guest has to worry that he's going to zing them with their stuff when he's been through the shit that he's done.
Right.
David has abused everything and has lived to tell the tale, and audiences love him because he's so honest about it. He's not afraid to share. And so he makes his guests feel, he makes his guests feel comfortable with whatever it is that they're going to come on and share. I think it's a gift, that's a gift in a talk show environment to make people feel at ease so that they'll really hear something.
And I think, the trick to that is just be you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just be you. That's all.
Yep.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think over the years, I think there was really only one zinger question that Jeff got, and that was with Vernon Wells. And he brought up the fact, he asked Vernon, so what did your mother think about you being in a porno? And he was like, whoa, where did you find that? But he answered it, and he was a good sport about it. And he had a blast on the show.
Wow. That would be if you weren't expecting that, that'd be a tough one to get.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought he handled it very well.
Yeah.
Very well.
Good for him.
Well, he asked me if I watched it. He's like, how do you know about that? You watched that shit?
So yeah, he was a great sport about that. But
I think that would always be a good comeback in a situation like
absolutely.
That. Right. We are running over time. We're having a blast, but I don't want to keep you all night. So I am going to say, Jeffrey, do you have any last questions for our amazing guest?
Yes, I have two.
I know you do.
My two. Yep, I have two questions. First one, what do you like on your pizza?
Oh, well, okay. I'm sort of heavily go into the meats, so I like sausage, pepperoni, a lot of cheese. And I like it. I like it really spicy. I mean, I'm pouring the pepper, the pepper flakes on there. I want it to light me up.
You're the guy who those are for.
Right. Okay.
Why is there pepper flakes on the table? Anybody use these?
Yeah. No, I love it. I love that. I put those on anything.
Right. Have you tried adding diced up chili peppers to it?
Oh my God! I mean jalapeno.
Oh, not jalapenos. Those things are weak as shit, man. You need like the hardcore chili peppers and shit. Fucking jalapenos.
No, so I haven't done chili powder. So what's your favorite chili powder?
My favorite chili powder? Or pepper?
Oh, I thought you talked about chili powder. So what was it that you said you wanted to add?
The real chili peppers.
Yes, right. Gotcha. Oh my God.
Add them right on there with all that meat shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd be sneezing if it's if I hit the pepper too hard, I'm sneezing. It's just like it can be a nightmare. But I do love it, and I keep going back to it.
Nice. I love the meat lovers shit. That's my deal right there with the extra cheese.
Yep, and
I
then I
pour
pour
cheese.
And then I pour hot sauce on it.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
All right. So, question number 2: are you a cat guy or a dog guy?
I grew up with cats and dogs. I love them both. Cats are so much easier. We have a dog now, and we love this dog. He can be a handful. We love this dog because there's much more of a relationship with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have a relationship with your dog, and you feel like they are connected to you in a way that maybe you get with a cat. So
Servant.
Take you or leave you, really.
Yeah, you're more of a servant to a cat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And look, that's so easy. You can leave the cat. You can't just get up and pick up and leave the dog. That's a real problem.
Yeah. You can take off for the weekend and just throw some food on the floor for the cat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely, as a preference, dogs definitely.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Jeremy,
I just want to know, since you've done all these cons and stuff, what's one of the most interesting fan interactions you've had?
Oh God, ones really are touching to me are the ones where women come up to me after during the day, and they'll tell me, you were my first crush, my first love, my first, and sometimes they'll come up to me and say it in a way that's very light and easy, and they're there with their husbands, sometimes with their children or their grandchildren. But they can share this, and what's cool is that they've reached the point in their life where that little piece of connection in their life is fun for them, and they can share that, and there's nothing on it that is uncomfortable for them. Mm-hmm. I also have women walk up to me with tears in their eyes and tell me that I was their first love, and they'd be ready to start again right now, and
go.
And
isn't that called a stalker?
Yeah, well, it could be. Yeah. I haven't had anything like that happen. But the affection that comes at all of us, really incredible. I mean, and the other thing that always blows me away, and anybody who's done a long-running series will tell you this happens. People really think I'm married to Laura. They think that I'm Almanzo, and we're really married. And how are we doing? And how's the house? And how's Rose? And I mean, I really, when you look at people, you sort of, are you pulling my leg, or is this for real? And I think in some cases they're pulling your leg, and they're having fun with that. But there are people who absolutely believe that this is real. And they think that, how are things in Walnut Grove, and, all of that. And it's really wild. And, you don't want to blow that person up.
Right.
They would tell you that, but it does make you wonder about someone's sense of reality and what's really going on in their lives. And
right.
So that's a little, perhaps a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But in the main, it's a very sweet thing. People love it, and they share that with us. And it's just this incredible affirmation and gift that we did something all those years ago that still matters to a lot of people. That's pretty
great.
Cool. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, that's all from me.
Yep. So I'm going to ask the question that our producer usually asks, that Jeremy sometime will ask.
Okay.
What does Dean geek out about? For instance, there was a guest on who really totally geeked out about the history of sunken vessels, something that not a lot of people would know about. What really gets Dean?
Wow. Well, what really gets Dean is, I'm not going to tell you.
Must be a Vernon Wells thing.
But I will tell you that I had a very fun experience years ago, and I was in Las Vegas, I was in New Orleans, flying back to Los Angeles, and I'm sitting in the in the boarding area of this flight, and I look over, and this was 15 years ago. There's Jerry Rice, San Francisco 49er, All-Pro wide receiver Jerry Rice, looking very dapper, and he's obviously he'd received an award, and he's wearing whatever the blazer was that he got and all that. But Jerry Rice, if you were a San Francisco 49er fan in the early to mid 80s into the 90s, Jerry Rice was bigger than life. And the things he did were magical that you watched on Sunday afternoons. Jerry Rice had obviously been partying big time in New Orleans. I mean, he looked almost like he was falling asleep on his feet in the boarding area. I don't know what possessed me. I don't know how I would have reacted if someone did this to me, but this tells you how bad it can be when someone, and so I get what it is to be the fan. I'm a fan too. I was a huge Jerry Rice fan. I woke this guy. He was out. He was out in first class, gone. And I went and nudged him on the shoulder and woke him up and asked him to sign a cocktail napkin for me.
Oh my.
Afterwards, I felt like, how big an idiot are you to have done this? The really cool thing was, because he could have just bitten my head off. Mm-hmm. He could barely open his eyes, but he was so cool about it, and he signed the napkin, and like he put the pen down and he was gone. It's just like boom, out. Wow. But he responded to Jerry Rice knew something that I think that people come to understand when they do this. And I'd like to think that I wasn't respectful of his space at all. But what I do understand is that people can go a little bonkers when they are around somebody that they feel like they know and admire so much. And they don't know, they'll do things that they might not do in any other situation, much to their chagrin and shock to themselves. They will do ridiculous, stupid things. I did that with Jerry Rice. He signed it. So, now when people will come up to me at an event and I'm eating a meal, or I'm doing something else that's requiring some concentration, and people come up to me, and because I woke Jerry Rice up out of a stupid sleep, I will answer any question, talk about whatever they want to know about. I will be all in for them, because I realize in retrospect, thinking about it, how hard it is to walk up to somebody you've had. On the one hand, it's very hard. On the other hand, you're just sort of, it's a force that takes you there. You're sucked into it. And you sort of have to be respectful. If you're on the receiving end of that, you have to be respectful of what that energy is, and you don't want to damage it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you also understand that, it's the fans. Without the fans, it don't exist.
You're nowhere. Yeah, you're nowhere.
It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So that's respect to the fans. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. I played on a celebrity basketball team back in the 1980s, and I was on this team with a couple of really big time soap stars that just had like massive fan followings, and women loved these guys. And we were in a restaurant after a game, and women were coming out of the woodwork to come on to this guy. And he was so rude to these women. I mean, he called them every name in the book to make them go away. I mean, really, it got a little gross in what he was willing to say to these people. And I said, wow, when the last one went away for a while, when there was a break in the action, I turned to him and said, how do you do that? These people love you. And he said, they love the abuse. They love being told F off. and get the hell out of my face and whatever else he tells them. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's how he processed it. It didn't mean the women all giggled as they went away. I mean, no one threw a drink at him. It's like they just sort of expect that this is who he was. Of course, it was a lot like the character he played on the soap opera. So maybe that's
I was
part
just
of
going to ask. That might be a part of it.
rudeness. I just couldn't wrap my head around the rudeness. That was really, so I will never behave that way.
No. I'm a firm believer that there's a polite way to tell somebody to fuck off.
Oh, look at that. We made it an hour and 15 minutes and the first F-bomb comes out at the end of the show.
Well, all right. So you want a Samuel L. Jackson story?
Oh,
I mean, no one says fuck off the way Samuel L. Jackson does.
No.
I mean, it's like, it's all like, it's just like Blue Streak. Samuel L. Jackson was bemoaning to David Feherty after an interview. We were doing a walk and talk after they did an interview. And Samuel L. Jackson's a wonderful golfer and so on. But they're walking along, and Samuel L. Jackson said, I can't tell anyone fuck off, hurt their feelings anymore. Because they love when you tell them they're a motherfucker and they just think it's the greatest thing in the world. Oh,
right.
My motherfucker, this guy's a motherfucker. He's a motherfucker. They love it. And so he said, I can't insult anybody anymore. So his thing that makes him so popular also makes it impossible for him to push people away. Because just keep coming for more.
Right. That's funny.
Everyone's got something.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
What are you looking at, Ben?
Oh, just last comment. One of the last
comments.
comments.
My God, they're going to cut us off. We got to get out of this thing. Oh, never approached any celebrity. What was that text?
So never approached any celebrity. Autograph
being told
book in
to
hand.
fuck off like they were trying to say. They were likely trying to save face before they could cry in their car. Yeah.
Maybe. But on that note, we do have to let this amazing gentleman go.
Guys, thank you for having me.
So I do want to do this. So Dean, where do you like interacting with your fans on social media?
So at Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, I am official Dean Butler. There are on Facebook, there are a ton of scams there now.
Mm-hmm.
People do things. There are a lot of them. But it's official Dean Butler is actually me, and we monitor those. So we don't monitor all the fakers. We do monitor ours.
Excellent. So there you have it, folks. That is in the show notes, by the way, up above or down below, along with the link to pre-order
the book.
Dean's book, which will be out on June 25th. And if you're in any of those states that I mentioned earlier, or I'm sure there'll be a website somewhere there that you guys can.
Little House Cat Events on Facebook that's run by Gravel Road Markets is a great place to find out where we are. So you might want to put in your notes as well. Yeah, Little House Cast Events on Facebook. And Gravel Road Markets is another place that you can find. There are those places where our information is out there. Thanks for awesome stream. I did like Buffy Little House, and I wish you all the best. That's very nice. From Undead Ramen. That's cool.
Right.
I didn't realize you were putting these things up during the stream. I was looking at my Twitter all the time. I wasn't looking at the notes. So
That's okay. So Jar Jar.
Oh, find me on Facebook, Jeremy Courtney, always looking for new friends. You can check me out every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on Splash Pages on Facebook or YouTube, where we live stream about comic books and have interviews with writers and artists and all that wonderful stuff. Next week, we're hoping to have Cullen Bunn on and Tyler. I'm forgetting his last name. Tyler something. Tyler something. Definitely, you should check it out. It's going to be a great interview. That way better than this moment right here.
Jeffrey.
Wow. Well, as always, Toking with the Dead on Facebook or stilltoken.com. All our stuff is all on stilltoken.com. As far as me go, just like Dean said, there's a ton of Jeffs on Facebook. And I don't have an official. I'm not an official. I don't have official Jeff on Facebook. You know? I just don't like that. I kind of hide behind the other Jeffs, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
That works. So go to stilltoking.com. That's where you can find out everything about us.
Cool.
Excellent. Like Jeff said, stilltoking.com. If you're in the Massachusetts area this weekend, we will be in Greenfield, Mass at the Grumpy Cup.
Yes, the Grumpy
for 2
Cup.
days, Saturday and Sunday. So if you're in Massachusetts, come out and say hi to us. Want to thank Dean for taking time out of his busy schedule to come out here and chat with us. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Definitely pick up his book. I'm going to have to look at the tickets to the Waterbury, Connecticut show. I might have to take a little trip down there. So I think that would be a great time. But in all seriousness, as usual, to all our veterans and first responders, we want to thank you for doing what you do so people like us can do what we do. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. We're out of here. Maybe.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Ben's got to find the right button. There it is.
There it is.
So come on, hey, step it off, bring it down and lose it. Come on.